Dear participants, welcome back. Apologies for the rather short break. We will now continue with session 5 on SDG5. And without further ado, I would like to give the floor to the moderator of today's session, Ms. Chai Chai, Chief Gender Equality and Social Inclusion Section, Social Development Division of ESCAP. Over to you, Ms. Chai Chai.
Thank you, Natasha. Good afternoon, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to session 5 of the 5th North and Central Asia Multi-Stakeholder Forum on implementation of SDGs. So this session focuses on SDG5, achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls. We know that in North and Central Asia, women are contributing to economic growth, political and social transformation as educators, entrepreneurs, and political leaders. However, gender gaps remain, and women's contributions are often overlooked and undervalued. For example, women's labor force participation is still much lower than men, and women's representation in national parliament in the NCA region is just about 19%, well below the global average of 24%. With the scourge of the COVID pandemic, lockdown measures, and school closure, women's unpaid care and domestic responsibility burdens has increased significantly. This poses a further challenge for their socio-economic participation. Today's session, therefore, will review these challenges and propose the solutions in closing gender gaps, with a particular focus on economic empowerment of women in the context of COVID-19 recovery and building back better. We have a lineup of eminent speakers who will share their views, experiences, including the strategy that has worked and what more needs to be done. We will have 2 presentations to set the stage, followed by a panel discussion. If any of the participants have a question, feel free to type the question in the chat box. We will address them during the late part of the session when we have the Q&A session. In that regard, I would like to ask all speakers to keep within the limit of allocated time for your presentation to allow time for Q&A. Okay, finally, I'd like to request all of you to switch off your camera and microphone when you are not speaking. Okay, now let me proceed to our presentations, the first 2 presentations. The first presentation, is focusing on current status and trends for SDG5 in North and Central Asia. Speaker is Ms. Nargis Azizova. Ms. Nargis is the specialist on intergovernmental partnership, normative and knowledge management with the UN Women Regional Office for Europe and Central Asia. She has more than 15 years of work experience with the United Nations in various capacities, including serving as a UNDP Assistant Representative and a UNIFEM UN Women Gender and Governance Advisor. So it's a great pleasure to have Nargis with us to provide this overview presentation. You have 10 minutes for your presentation. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chai, and добрый день всем участникам. Я, наверное, перейду на
Good day to all participants. Maybe I will do it in Russian because I prepared presentation in 2 languages, but taking into consideration the fact that the majority of our participants are Russian speaking, so it would be good just to make it in Russian. Now I'm going to share my presentation and would ask you just to confirm if you see it, if it's visible. I would like just to say that, of course, for UN Women, this is quite important that SDG5 is considered at the highest level, at the high-level forum, July next year in New York. I would like to say that we had just quite a big break. So we hadn't that SDG for 5 years on the high-level agenda. It was back in 2017 last time, and when Central Asia, when Tajikistan was prepared the VNR, 5 years passed, and 5 years as a time interval when we regularly track the progress just made by our countries in attaining gender equality. The last time we met back in 2019 in Geneva within the regional review, which was carried out by the ECE for jointly with UN Women. So Beijing Plus 25, it was called. That was in 2019 on the eve of the pandemic, which
этот обзор, потому что он позволил нам тогда провести детальную оценку все-таки статуса достижения прогресса, достижения гендерного равенства. И, конечно, вот эта оценка впервые была проведена тогда с учетом вот тех целей и задач, которые ставила повестка 2030, и ЦУР-5, и другие гендерно-чувствительные задачи по целям устойчивого развития. К сожалению, 2021 год, 2020 год все-таки был очень таким значительным, который дал новые риски и новые вызовы. И, к сожалению, мы не все оказались к ним готовы. В 2020 году, вот после того, как случилась пандемия,
not everyone was prepared for that. And after the pandemic, number of studies was carried out, which showed that the risks are rather high, and the progress that was attained by end 2019 has a trend to regress. That means everything that was just worked during the previous 5 years, so just actually addressed all the changes in all our countries. Very good review was carried out at a global level. Big study was conducted, and you can see quite important figures at this line, which show that the level of poverty and feminization of poverty is increasing regrettably. And I would like to draw attention to the fact that these projection figures just show gender specifics. Of course, it's quite understandable that the population was affected almost in all countries, but regrettably, all gender gaps that existed prior to the pandemic that were just tracked during Beijing Plus 25, so they are quite, they are increasing, they are exacerbating. That means the gap is increasing significantly. Quite recently, our office, our headquarters published a new review on SDG achievement. Of course, gender issues was on the focus. So the review was carried out based on the statistics that was available in international organizations and formal data. And second part, you can see quite important figures. The figures that were, the data that were available for 95 countries back in 20, so they just showed that more than half countries have no quota for women representation in international parliaments. The figures that we had back in 2019 in regard to political involvement on a global scale, have no further development. And we have to understand that because SDG5 just tells us about the high extent of participation of women, involvement of women in all decision-making levels. That means that significant measures are needed to prevent and to respond to violence against women and girls, and by 2022 to just eradicate all forms of violence. Of course, so this is quite an important issue. If we have laws on rape, for example, and just response measures which are made on non-consent, and 65% of countries have no laws of this kind. And you can see the figure which just tells how this violence against women and girls increase across the world. If we talk, regrettably, if we talk about the access to work and the decent work, decent labor, half of these 95 countries have these lists of professions or employment which are still prohibited for women in these countries. And this situation should be under focus under our focus when we are talking about SDG5 for our region. I would like to remind you that we were talking about Beijing plus 25 review because it was detailed review which just caused underpinned practical recommendations for our countries, what needs to be done in order to move to attaining SDG5. Beijing plus 25 political declaration was adopted end of last year, and you can see the main points that were discussed during our regional review. Beijing plus 25, they all are still urgent, and these priorities are still important in the context of the targets set by us in order to eradicate implications of the pandemic and to ensure further development during post-pandemic period. Of course, there was the stagnation in Europe and Central Asia prior to the pandemic, and it's important to say that neither country in the world, regrettably, did not ensure complete gender equality. That was the major outcome of Beijing plus 25 review. But many countries just attained significant progress, including our region, in relation to some key indicators, such as participation of women, involvement of women in decision making. And of course, we are quite glad that our region is not in the worst position in this regard. We have new female leaders, including in Moldova. You know that the president now, so for the first time, president of Moldova is a woman. And so there are certain achievements in other countries, but this is not sufficient to say that we are moving a step just to our goals to be attained by 2030. Several slides presented here, which show data as on the countries where we collected data, supported data, confirmed data, official data, so comparative data showing comparison between 2015 and present situation. So you can see the share of women members of parliament. You can see the increase in Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, but this is not sufficient. If you say that by 2030 we want to see like 50-50 world. So this is the task set by women in order to promote this idea, not only to attain the parity, but this parity would be like 50-50. So it would be rather sustainable. And of course, we just stated that such changes were attained, including through certain measures implemented, even temporary measures like quota and other measures. But now, if we just look at other indicators of women involvement in decision-making, how they are just represented in the ministries and agencies as heads of agencies, like 6% of women in Uzbekistan and 36% in Georgia. Situation is changing, taking into consideration the fact that many changes are taking place in our countries in relation to the parliaments and the governments, but regrettably this trend is still persistent, and we need to take significant measures in order to eradicate this gap.
Of course, we also would like to admit that COVID provides and reveals not only our risks, but it gives us good lessons. And in those countries where we had preliminary analysis on behalf of the UN Women in terms of gender sensitivity for those measures undertaken by the world governments as a response to the pandemic, it proves that these measures were mostly adequate in those countries where women are at the governing positions. And we have 26 countries like this in the world. I don't want to name them all, but of course, these measures are very positive in terms of presence of women at high positions in the government. Number 5 tells us about women's economic involvement, and this meeting is basically dedicated to this aspect, how women are represented in the economic sector. For our region, it is not a secret, it is the most sensitive and most important topic, because our region, the Central Asia, is always typical here, the axis of labor. And here we have the opportunities and problems at the same time. Traditionally, our women are underrepresented in the employment, especially formal employment market. Most of our women are employed in the most vulnerable sectors. They are either not regularly employed or they are seasonally employed. But this trend, it is not only local, but global as well. You can see 39% of women, if they are represented in the global employment index, that's quite a small share. But also women are the most vulnerable in terms of losing their jobs, first of all, because of the pandemic. In the region of Europe, Eastern Europe and Central Asia, if globally people 60% admitted losses in their income, and here our population lost about 70% of their income, and these significant losses happened in the second part of the last year, when in our countries of Central Asia governments made some limitation measures, and this limitation measures were not supported with the respective support which required our informally employed people, first of all women. Unfortunately, women's participation in the labor market is incomparable with the men's one. 34% in Kyrgyzstan, 27% in Tajikistan, 29% in Turkmenistan. That is a gender gap figures in employment. Another important focus why this is taking place, this is because of social norms that women are mostly focusing on day-to-day chores at home, and there are no formal policy to provide women with a formal employment, and that is also the lack of kindergartens and other supporting institutions which limit women's participation in labor market. Young women, due to other indicators such as early marriages and others, they are no longer involved in education or employment, and here we have twofold more women employed in this sector rather than men. Now, in our presentation, you can review these figures in a greater details. Again, regarding employment, if we will do the policy in the area of regulating employment without focus on gender issues, of course, women will be lagging behind with all those measures undertaken by the governments. That is why when we're talking about employment, social protection and decent job access, we should not make a difference between men and women, but young women and young men, and those women which are excluded from the market, labor market, most vulnerable groups of women. But there are groups of women which are so-called informally employed, which are highly, unfortunately, represented in our region, both for men and women. If men are informally employed in agriculture and construction, women are mostly informally employed in the household sectors, which is the most less seen sector by the government, and that is why women, of course, are very vulnerable, especially under pandemic, and there are some limitations in this category of women who are, first of all, were deprived of their regular income due to the pandemic. I don't want to repeat all the points of this slide. I just would like to tell you that there are social norms, patriarchal traditions, which we're still having in our region, in our society. Unfortunately, women are limited in a way that they are traditionally educated in those sectors where they are already highly represented, and this deprived them from equal opportunities. Here I put one photo, and I think we have to pay attention on a very important practice. This is a photo from the underground carriage in Istanbul. Every photograph welcomes ladies to become the metropolitan carriages, metropolitan trains drivers, and they would like to have 92% of women driving metro trains in Istanbul, and the same type of promotions for women, welcoming them to become guards in Istanbul as well. So this is a very good example how women could be employed in so-called non-traditional sectors for them. And that is a very good opportunity on how other countries try to overcome these social norms and traditions. So we have two countries in Central Asia where we also have underground system. And why not women be employed as train drivers there? And also quite important how women transfers, how women move from universities to employment. And unfortunately, young women are not active in the labor market due to their family situations in most instances. At that time, they're getting married, giving birth to children, and they're missing this opportunity to get professional education, which is mostly demanded in the local labor market. Up to 30% of women in between 15 and 24 years old in the region of East Asia and Central Asia, they are in the category which have no education, no proper professional training. And we men students, of course, we have much more, especially vocational men students.
Apologies, Nargis, I will need to ask you to wrap up soon in 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, это один из последних слайдов.
Yes, this is one of the final slides in my presentation. I would just like to pay your attention on rapid gender assessment in 16 countries of the region. We made this rapid assessment, which helped us to see in greater details on how SDGs implementation is progressed in the region. And another point, it is a part of the SDG5. I'm talking about domestic violence. This is the most challenging goal for us, which we have to do jointly. We have early and forced marriages. We also do not have enough punishment for domestic violence, and unfortunately our laws are not so perfect in terms of matching with international standards on preventing all forms of domestic violence. And we have a big program which is called Ray of Light in Central Asia, financed by the EU for all 5 Central Asian states, and I believe this is a proper assistance for the regional countries in order to eradicate all forms of violence against women by 2030. My final slide, I don't want to speak about this because then we will have Malinka's presentation regarding non-paid care. And here you can see my presentation and the details there after this session and those measures which we would like to call upon. The only final measure which I would like to underscore that without gender measures and gender policies will not be supported by proper finance, this will be rather declarative measures and they will become undoable. That is why when we're talking about SDG number 5, we always have to provide gender-sensitive budgeting tools to calculate those expenses which we need to implement SDG5 and respectively be supported by the finance. I apologize for exceeding my time limit. Thank you very much, and I think it's a good opportunity to work together over the perspectives of SDGs 5 implementation in Central and North Asia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nargis, for this comprehensive overview. You have, through the data and facts, as well as some examples showed that, you know, while some progress has been made in achieving SDG5, really we are looking at tremendous challenge in women's role in terms of leadership, decision-making positions, women's economic participation, employment, as well as addressing gender-related violence. And you also have some suggestions on the way forward to address the gender concerns. Thank you very much. Now, we would like to move to our second overview presentation on women's economic empowerment, but with a particular focus on the care economy and the COVID-19 pandemic context. The presenter is my colleague, Ms. Malinka Koparanova. She is a Senior Social Affairs Officer and gender focal point at the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, UNECE, our sister regional commission. Malinka coordinates the work related to gender mainstreaming in ECE and leads the special program of the economies in Central Asia on gender and sustainable development goals. She conducts and coordinates research and policy analysis on development issues and gender, including women's economic empowerment and entrepreneurship development, among others. Malinka, you have about 8 minutes. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tai Tai. Dear colleagues, dear participants, I would like to focus your attention on women's economic empowerment at the links to the care economy and how they have deepened and how they have changed, you know, during the COVID. In particular, I will focus on the policy challenges and the policy opportunities. You know, let me just say that my presentation is in English and it's also available in Russian. You can also ask your questions in the chat in Russian. Так что, дорогие друзья, я очень рада выступить перед вами по вопросам.
So, distinguished participants, I'm very glad to talk about gender equality and women's empowerment in the area of economics. And in this regard, I would like to find out in terms of care and especially economy of care under the pandemic. Now I will switch to English. But I would like to say that my presentation, my slides are also available in Russian and in English as well. And you can also drop your questions in Russian to the chat. And now I would like to switch back to English.
Presentation, so I'm sharing the presentation, and please let me know if you can see it. I suppose it's fine, right? So, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, yes,
oh, okay. Thank you very much. So, okay, so, oops. Okay, so now what I would like to start with is basically very, very quickly, as long as I'm pretty sure that within the 8 minutes, I will not be able to, you know, to disclose all the links and all the direct and indirect impacts that go between the economy of care and the women's economic empowerment. But I just would like to emphasize that women's economic empowerment is a direct pathway to achieve gender equality and sustainable development, because without women being involved in the production process, also in the distribution of the goods and services that they're producing, we cannot achieve the potential level of the economic growth. Also, this is at the macroeconomic level, but when we speak about women, for example, women entrepreneurs, which is one of the elements of women's economic empowerment, we cannot have the competitiveness at micro level if we don't have the whole richness of the women's ideas in their business and in their enterprises. So we see that the links go both at the micro level, at enterprise levels, and this is very important to know that in fact, within these links, all the macroeconomic policies that are undertaken by the government, both at regional, sub-regional level and at country levels, and also community measures, they go and in fact they affect, and the impact is on the family, on the communities, on the individuals. So this is where, in fact, we do have the direct links between the care economy, which comprises all the services that are produced in order to have to sustain human life, the reproduction of the workforce, and also the well-being of the people. So when speaking about the care economy, of course, we need to have in mind that it comprises both of a huge amount of unpaid work of women and domestic work. And at the same time, also it is generated by the public and sometimes private sector, although it's a very small portion, which sectors are producing the services, be it for childcare or for the elderly or for the disabled. So when we are talking about the care work, as already my colleague Nargis pointed out, it's mostly done by women. We're talking about both the paid and unpaid care, because it's not only the unpaid care at home that is done dominantly by women, but it's also the paid care in the various forms that it exists in the countries, in the care services. It's also the caretaker workers are women. So it's about more than 80% is done by women, even for some countries.
Malinka, may I? Sorry, hello? Malinka.
Yes.
Your slides are not moving.
Oh, my slides are not moving. Okay.
Yes.
So see, what about now?
No. Can you go to the slideshow mode?
But why it's not moving now? Can you see something?
No. Maybe my colleague can take over the slideshow for you.
Okay. Okay.
Right? It's
I don't know. I see on my screen, but I don't know why you don't see it.
Okay.
Please try and click on that pop-up window, the orange one on the got
I
it.
don't have. I have on the full screen. You want me to escape from the full screen?
Yes, and then you click.
Is it now okay? Is it now okay?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so basically the full screen is not accepted. Okay, good. So I just wanted, not to show this, the other part, which is, just not focusing you. Anyway, so this is about the care economy. So another important thing is that although, as I said, care economy, both unpaid and unpaid work is very important. It's very important for the society and for all the economy at large, because without it, in fact, women cannot reach a full participation in the economic and political life as well. But I'm focusing on the economic life. However, it lacks visibility. It's not visible when we are talking about economic indicators of growth. It lacks visibility at all indicators. It's not only on the GDP growth. It lacks visibility when we are talking about the economic policies, for example, to foster growth, to foster industrial growth. It really is just somewhere at the background, and this background is always almost forgotten. It's basically the civil society that are reminding us sometimes. Also, this visibility, the lack of visibility, has been widely acknowledged, and the importance of the care work has been widely acknowledged in the Sustainable Development Agenda 2030. And that is why in SDG5, we do see explicit mentioning of the importance of women taking care, for the elderly, for the childcare. So it's in target 5.4, there is a call for recognizing, reduction, and redistribution of the unpaid care work. As a result, we see both the importance for the women's economic empowerment and also for the importance of society at large. We see that we need comprehensive care policy, which are fundamental for the women's economic empowerment. It's fundamental for all society. That is why UNEC works on this area, and both at the Regional Forum for Sustainable Development, we had this year that attention was brought to the rethinking of the how women can be included into these indicators, but also during the Beijing Platform for Action when it happened in 2019. I'm not going to dwell on that because Nargis already mentioned that, but I want just to point out that as a result of all this importance that care was acknowledged in the Beijing +19, and importantly on the gaps, on these huge gaps that even existed before the COVID, After that, the COVID has exacerbated all the gender gaps in these areas. And that's why a huge UN Development Account project was undertaken with the participation of all the regional commissions, including our sister commission for ESCAP. And also together with the European Central Asian Office of UN Women, we have performed and we are still in completing this project, but we have done regional and country studies. The regional studies focusing on the empowering of women, both in the unpaid and also on the policy issues of the paid care, and also country case studies on Moldova, on Serbia, as well as country case study on Kyrgyzstan. And I think that it was very important to point out these issues and to point the specificity at the country level, because although the Central Asian region is, if they have their common challenges, every country has its own specific needs. Without further ado on this project, that you will see the outputs, I think, very soon, and some of them are already published. I would like to focus your attention on the impact of the COVID and its consequences on the women's economic empowerment and the linkages to the care economy. So what was the situation before the COVID? It's once again, in this case, I'm very much, my presentation is eased by my colleagues' Nargi's presentation that focused on the importance and that focused also on the situation in Central Asian countries with various statistics. What I would like to point is that we do have these gaps of women's lack of participation, not full participation in the labor market, of the segregation that they participate not in all sectors. That is a follow-up of that is that we do have quite significant gender gaps in the payment. So that's something that I'm just focusing your attention without going into the details because of the restriction of the time. What the COVID exacerbated and what we see in particular in this area, in the linkages of women economic empowerment and the care economy, is that we have reduction in the paid hours of work. We have job losses. For Kazakhstan, for example, 26% of women reported, and here I'm using, of course, the data of the rapid assessments that UN Women Regional Office for Europe and Central Asia did. 26% of women reported a job loss compared to 22% of men. We have deterioration of the working conditions, that more women work as essential, that is more women were into the health services, and that's why the impact was directly in them. So as far as the informal economy, we also see that the informal economy, women are quite, they do participate in the informal economy. And what happened with the COVID is that it's not only the condition deteriorated, but many of the channels were just closed. For women entrepreneurs, I am also here putting some numbers, and what I want also to say that is the decline in remittances also was a huge issue, because many of the households in Kyrgyzstan, for example, they were relying on these remittances in order to take care of children and the elderly at home because of the undeveloped care system, So switching to work from home also was, in a way, a possibility to work during the COVID. So the proportion of employment respondents who switched to working from home during the COVID-19, you see on this graph. And once again, I'm not going to dwell on that because it talks by itself. What is important after that is that the impact we can just distinguish when we focus on the care. We distinguish two big elements or two big parts. This is the impact on the care of the unpaid work and the impact also on the paid care, because care work is also organized as a paid care. What we see is the unpaid work. We have massive increase in the unpaid care work. The extra work was mostly done, of course, by women due to the closure of schools and also the closure of many of the care institutions. Care work during the quarantine period also was, for some countries, quite protracted, and recovery period also from the COVID, due to the long COVID, also provided also was quite a challenge for women in order to take care of the sick and the elderly. So I'm here also providing you some numbers that will talk about and that are talking about women disadvantages or of the higher level, of the higher weight that they did take during and are taking during the COVID pandemic, because it's not yet finished. So what is important also is that there has been increased public attention to the importance of care. You know, it's not only international institutions, but also some governments brought these to the front. However, financing and measures, you know, were not so many, and I can say that they were just exceptional cases. So, but it was important that it was brought to the front, and the need to recognize the value and to measure the care work, and to redistribute it between all institutions and also between women and men. What is important also for the care paid work, I will just briefly point your attention to the loss of care employment opportunities, including for the private sector, for the child care workers, again, because of the closures, for domestic workers and the home carers. Also, there were sectors that were heavily hit, and small and medium enterprises were heavily hit, and we know that in some countries they did receive some help from the government, but it's not for all the countries. So what is important is that I would like to say that about the, you know, a few words about the policy response, because it's important that you know, this what was the policy response in this area, and how in fact this was shaped. So we know that for, you know, in many countries the care related leave parents was extended in some countries such as Uzbekistan, but also we see that there was financial support to SMEs, and in particular to micro SMEs, and knowing that a large portion of women are running SMEs, so we can say that this was a sort of, well, it's not a sort of, but this was in fact support from the government. So I think that, you know, I have run out of my time, but you know, I would like to point out these important areas, because we do have, you know, we do have this need that the care should become a priority in the policy and in the decision making. It should not be just looked as a byproduct of all the policies. You know, there should be a particular attention to care. And we know that there are challenges. The fiscal space is quite constrained, but the cost-benefit analysis shows that we will have more benefits, in particular in the middle and in the long run, if there is this opportunity. Not speaking about the, you know, about the ad hoc measures that needs to be taken. So care and gender mainstreaming of emergency and reconstruction needs to go hand in hand with it needs to include the female-dominated sectors in the economy, and to focus also on women's owned enterprises and on the care enterprises that they are establishing and running. We have also come in this project, we also have come with these two kinds of recommendations, or, you know, just that they go in details, and you can see in our products that I mentioned on this project, that on the unpaid care work, it comprises of the needs of leave benefits, access to services, flexible working for the persons who take care responsibilities, as well as the policy innovations that have just started in some countries to provide safe and quality child care. And for the paid care work, of course, you know, we also have focused our attention on that. We have a, you know, investment in the care sector, which is a particular focus, and is one of the products of this project as well. The adequate compensation and the bonus payments for the care, for the healthcare workers, which in some countries started, but not in all countries, and also the policy innovation. So I will be happy to respond to your questions, and without further ado, I would like to thank all. Thank you.
Thank you, Malinka, very much for this important topic, shedding light on this latest and major gender issue confronting all women around the world. And this is why the 5 regional commissions come together to do in-depth analysis and also developing policy solutions. And I think your presentation reviewed some of the major challenges and how it affects women's economic participation, empowerment, as well as other aspects, including participating in political and other opportunities. So it's important to come up with the right package of policy solutions. Given the time limit, you cannot elaborate, but I know that there's a whole range of solutions. And as you emphasized, it cannot be ad hoc. It has to be systematic. It has to be a whole government approach. And the government needs to put this on the priority of their policy agenda, and entails national investment in developing systematic and comprehensive care system to address unpaid care burden of women. Thank you very much, Malinka. Now let's move to with the 2 overview presentations. We should listen to the panel of speakers. We have 5 panelists who will bring their own experiences in dealing with the specific challenges that have been shared by our presenters, and how in this context they advocated and supported women in getting economic opportunities and advancement. So let me move to our first panelist in the list. Ms. Akmaro Basirova. She is an experienced social entrepreneur, founder of a public fund aimed at protecting mothers' rights since 2019. She has 20 years of experience in managing positions and owns a successful cleaning company. She has been engaged in public and government initiatives to support women's entrepreneurship. The floor is yours, Ms. Akmaro. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. You may start your intervention, Akmaro.
Женщины.
Yes, please go ahead.
Пожалуйста, Акмарал. Вам слово. Good afternoon, distinguished participants. My name is Akmaral Basirova, and I am the head of Public Fund for Protecting Mothers in Almaty. I am mother of 3 daughters and 2 sons myself. I'm a director of a cleaning company. We're providing services all over Almaty. We are doing general cleaning for various premises, and I mostly employed women with many children, single mothers with many children. Basically, my story started 6 years ago. Within 6 years, we experienced tremendous growth. I do not have higher education due to my family situation, which prevails me from getting education. My father disappeared long ago, and I had to support my mother. And hence, I do not have any sort of education. I am getting married, and I started giving birth to children, as it is a traditional way for women in Kazakhstan. So I do not have higher education, but I have a tremendous desire to help mothers with many children. My husband had a stroke, and that is why I had to take care of my husband as well. And I started with an announcement in Facebook that I provided cleaning services to private houses. What else a lady without education could offer? And in 3 to 4 months, I've got an investor on the Facebook who offered me to establish officially a cleaning company. He also invested $3,000 on the respective equipment. He asked me to set up the cost of the list of expenditures. He also told me that I have to provide, so I have to proceed through training by psychologists and various vocational courses. Officially, as a result of this, I established my own small companies, and it turned out that this investor not only helped myself, but also he helped 200 women whom I am employed in my company. We also established Mothers Support Center in Almaty. We have 11,000 women just within one region of the city. This 11,000 women, they are provided with free vocational courses. We help these ladies to overcome their difficult circumstances. These are the most socially vulnerable layers of population who do not know where to go and how to earn money, because 80% of them, they are renting their houses, do not own their own dwelling in the Almaty city. They have to live and share this rent premises with their children. I'm really happy to get such an investor through Facebook. He told me that he wants to support me with a cleaning company. Of course, not all women could find such an investor in Almaty, and I thought, why not government could be such an investor for other women? And as a result, we started with the analysis and the review, which grants are available for small businesses support. And it turned out that we have soft loans up to 5 million tenge for innovative projects. Anyone can participate in such a grant. The most important to have a good idea which could support environment in Almaty. It also can help employment and provide employment opportunities for the ladies. So I know that about 860 women use the soft loans, and they also provided various services to the local population, basically in the beauty industry and in textile. So 44 women received up to 5 million tenge of this grants. It is up to $12,000. And now we established the Association of Women Entrepreneurs. I am the head of this grant there. We are monitoring the spendings in order not to let these women losing their motivation, and to have this money to be a foundation for a family business. We know that family businesses are the most stable one. So we established this association of individual entrepreneurs, and the local city administration provides us a space of 1,500 square meters. So it would be like a small textile factory there. We would like to establish a small production there, and all those ladies which procured equipment like up to 200 sewing machines, overlocks, and other sewing machines. And we hope that our women will enjoy a stable clients contracts, and we would like them to grow. This is what we are doing, and we do understand that, of course, not 100% of these ladies could become business ladies, business women, but we would like to support them. We would like to help them with opportunities. We're also working with Atomic, and that is a local career center in Almaty. We have 64 free courses, free vocational courses at this employment career center. Before, we even did not hear about such free courses. Actually, all those things are available, but women sometimes did not know about these opportunities. And that is why I think one of the tasks of our foundation is to promote these courses. So more and more women would learn about these free opportunities given by the government, because traditionally women do not trust the government. But we would like to demonstrate that, in fact, government provides good opportunities for young entrepreneurs, for women entrepreneurs. When we have such big families, so we know that this is the greatest motivation for us to go ahead.
Ms. Akmara, I would like to request you to wrap up, please, because of time constraint. Yes, yes. Okay.
So this is just a brief information about myself. People called me Almaty Cinderella, who started with cleaning premises, cleaning houses, but now I understand that opportunities are vast, and it depends only upon us how to support our families have a good and bright future for our children. So we do have a vision, and we believe that we can change women's attitude, because this dependency situation is not good for women. And I am really delighted to see some mothers with many children. 1 year ago, their conditions of housing was terrible, but now they are generating employment by themselves for the others.
Thank you very much, Akmara, for this wonderful story. We are very heartened to hear from you in this difficult circumstances, how through your personal effort, through your social enterprise, you helped women in difficult circumstances, in economic, in poverty, to earn livelihood, to gain income through your support. And they are able to set up business themselves. So we hope to see more Cinderella like you in Almaty and in other countries of Central Asia. Thank you very much for sharing. We hope our participants may have questions. Please stay on. And I just also want to mention that in order to allow some time for discussion, I'd like to request all panelists to keep within 6 minutes for your intervention. Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Ms. Difuza Kurolova to make an intervention. She is a human rights lawyer and a professional mediator and a licensed mediator on civil, labor, and family disputes. In 2021, Difuza was selected as top 10 female leaders in Uzbekistan who have changed the country. She has extensive experience in human rights law and social development. Difuza, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Do you hear me? It's fine.
Yes.
Спасибо большое всем организаторам за то, что вы сегодня пригласили меня. Я сегодня буду делиться немножечко больше информации про Узбекистан, какие у нас есть...
Thank you very much for having invited me. I'm going to share information about Uzbekistan. So about the laws and bylaws that were just passed several years ago, which are enabling women empowering in our country. I think this may be useful for other countries. In legal sector, we know that back in 2019, quite a big progress was attained. In 2019, we used to have many developments specific in in relation to gender equality. Two laws were passed, and they have been discussed more than 10 years. And last year's and in September, so on law on gender equality was passed, and the law against violation against women was approved. So it was noted that each woman has a right for work, and this law just provides more political, economic, and social rights and civil rights of women. And so it just reads that temporary and ad hoc measures, some ad hoc quotas for part of the parliaments, like it was mentioned by the previous speaker, and we can see it is stipulated by law. We can see two laws which are the basis for just to underpin our future work and to demand our rights, because regrettably all these discrimination norms and provisions and discrimination position, say, in the labor market, so it's still existing, and it just impacts both formal and informal sectors, I mean, women involvement. Second is the committee in the Senate, which was incorporated, established in 2019. So questions are just asked here, but I will read later. So it just says that gender issues, it just is the evidence that gender issues will be considered at the highest level. This committee just views all the policies in the country through the gender lens. In 2019, we had parliamentary elections in the parliament, and we can see that so the number of female deputy of the parliament, member of parliament, increased by twice. In 2019, so the number of women in the parliament was 48. I'm not even talking about quality, because one thing, when you have formally a women in the parliament, but as soon as they have the right to promote the policies. But due to COVID, many migrants returned, and we know that more than 2 million migrants used to work in one country, in Russian Federation, and the majority of them were men, but there was part of women who were migrants, labor migrants in other countries. And regrettably, due to COVID, they had to return back. In Uzbekistan, like in other Central Asian countries, so we used to have issues with the return of labor migrants. And we can see a growth of in informal sector. We can see that people started just going to some season work to some agricultural fields or construction sites without any documents. And it just is the evidence that the formal market is affected. And in this regard, we had successful projects that had an impact on the employment of women in our country. One of them that I would like to share with you is the ministry supported by the World Bank in the Ministry of Labor, where the mono centers that were established in 14 administrative entities. In each of them, mono center was established, and each citizen can just visit these centers just to get some vocational training and or languages, whatever. So, and they can get a certification of the international level. In order to visit this, so they have to apply to the Ministry of Labor. If they have no work or have no qualification or skills, so the centers of employment refer such people to these mono centers, and people can just pass 3 months of such training in mono centers. When I visited several mono centers in Uzbekistan, I could see that the centers are quite just greatly established because people are trained like, students are trained like 30% of theory and 70% of practical work. And when they just complete these courses, they just obtain international certificate. I paid attention that there are beauty courses where like women can just be trained in manicure, pedicure, like cosmetology services, or maybe some nurses or babysitters. And they could see that women with small children just come to these courses and just leave their children with those who just passing or completing the courses of babysitters, and they just attend other courses, so free of charge. But on the other hand, people can pay for this and just get the certificate. And the second issue, I know that I'm just a little bit under my schedule, so these are cooperative. Ministry of Labor and launched such great project, cooperative, when in 40 mini projects, when $120 just are allocated for each person. If like say 10 people or 10 people just get together, so Ministry of Labor can allocate like $1,200. So this will be a sort of initial capital, starting capital for such cooperative to start their business work. This shows that women from different towns, cities can start their projects, business projects, or their production, launch production to expand their economic opportunities, to be empowered, because not everyone just can pass some formal courses or be trained in some professions. Such successful practices show that we people who just draft these laws or analyze them or help women have to communicate these ideas and disseminate this this experience, because not everyone have smartphones or internet to get this information. So these are like ground-based projects that are like grassroots projects that just provide more help to assistance to women, specifically in post-COVID situation. I will be glad to share our experience after this session. Thank you very much, and beg your pardon for taking more time than scheduled. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diffuser, for sharing your insights and experience in how to strengthen the voice of women and girls and enhance their social political rights. Please stay tuned in case our participants have questions for you. Now let's move to our next speaker, Ms. Dinara Ruslan. She is CEO and founder of a group of IT companies called Codify. She is also advisor to the Prime Minister of Kyrgyz Republic. She had experience in managing projects as a project development director at Zensoft, as well as several other projects in the technical cooperation group at Wells Fargo, USA. Currently, she is working on B2B SaaS product for education centers. Dinara, the floor is yours. Please keep to 6 minutes. Thank you.
Sure. So hi, everyone. As mentioned, my name is I'm mainly from IT private sector, so I can just share my experience working in started and where I am today. It's not going to be, like about...
Sorry, your sound is floating. It's not audible. Sorry, the sound is not audible. No.
How I end up working in IT industry. Currently, I'm like a group of IT companies. We have IT Academy, we have like Codify Lab as an like development IT outsource company, and right now I'm in Singapore with our third product. It's a Codify LMS system for educational centers and for like corporations to manage their HR and an LMS. Probably like interesting part would be just a
distinguished speaker, so distinguished moderator, so it's not audible for translation. I'm sorry.
Family moved to Bishkek when I was a kid. I grew up with my grandmother, and
I'm sorry, so this is not audible for translation.
Okay, let me say, Dinara, apologies for interruption. I heard from an interpreter that your sound is breaking. I'm wondering if whether it may help if you switch off your camera. Could be the internet connectivity issue. Let's try without camera to just hear your voice, see if it's clearer. And please speak a bit slowly. Yeah, okay. Continue. Thank you.
Okay. So if it's like more comfortable in environment, I was told that it's more like English speaking. So like the part how I end up in IT, I think that's the most interesting because like back in like 2006, IT industry and STEM wasn't that like popular. So I was choosing between becoming a lawyer or journalist. But then I really had a passion for the clothes design, and then I thought, okay, I'm gonna be a designer. But like the funny thing happened that I ended up after the 9th grade, like at the engineering faculty, I actually started learning like programming, and then joined this I6 students organization, and that's how I ended up working in IT industry, and that became my passion. The funny part that after graduating, I couldn't really find a job in IT in Kyrgyzstan. That's why I had to just move to work on different companies, and then I spent 1 year in Afghanistan working for the database to actually earn money for my MBA, and that's how I actually end up in California studying an MBA in international business. While studying in California, I actually got a job in Iowa, so I was traveling every other like 3 weeks back and forth to actually like maintain my student status and to work in IT industry in Iowa State. In Iowa, I started as a junior systems analyst, then moved to the like a project manager position, and it was in like a fintech IT company in the United States. Summer 2016, I actually came back to Bishkek, and I joined like this company called ZenSoft. In 2019, I opened my own academy. It's IT Academy. It's called Codify. And when the 2020 hit, we actually struggled a lot to manage our academy and move to the online format. And that's when we decided to, like, our students were dropping out, like lack of motivation, like learning loss. We used several LMS systems, but nothing really worked. That's when we decided to build this solution. It's called Codify LMS, where via a single tool, you can literally manage any educational organization, kindergarten, school, university, college, and everything is built in, like analytics, sales funnel, study plan, assignment tests, like training schedule, skills upgrade, performance, and even the gamification. This is how our system looks. Right now it's in English, Russian, and Kyrgyz. We have web version, mobile version, and gamification features where like everyone can use it to basically motivate their students, like stickers and then ratings, for example, like you're number 4 in English course and stuff like that. Right now, our target audience is like language courses, like principal, teachers, students, private schools and universities, and the companies where they have like training model of the employees. We already onboarded like over 50 clients from Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan. We have kindergartens, language courses, schools, universities, and companies. And I think like the main message which I can share here is that like anyone can really work in IT and not just work in IT and STEM. It's actually like really great industry for girls and women, because I was born in like really like in the village in Kyrgyz Republic. I studied and worked in the United States. Right now, I brought my IT product to Singapore. Is that anyone can not just work in IT, but actually become an IT specialist and build like a startup, which is right now evaluated in like a $1 million. And that's, I think, the main message I was just thinking to share. Obviously 6 minutes is not really enough, so here's my Instagram page, and I can share also my my LinkedIn. So if you have any questions, comments, feel free to reach out to me. That's it. 6 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Indeed, Dinara, you know, you demonstrated how efficient you are. And we are also delighted to hear your story, because we know all the barriers facing women and girls in getting into STEM, the technology and the science field. And you shared your journey of becoming an entrepreneur in IT, you know, a very competitive field, and usually men dominate, right? And how you not only enter into the field, but also excel and build your own startup company. So I think this can be a role model and an excellent example for inspiring more girls and young women to go into a technology field. So we wish you all the best, and I hope more girls can hear your story. And I want to just also mention how important since the COVID pandemic, the digital economy is really taking off everywhere, and girls and women must find a place in this new field and make a success. Thank you very much, Dinara. Now let's move to our next speaker, Yevgeny Song, Mr. Yevgeny Song. He is an expert in small and medium business support and international development. And actually, I'm very happy to see a gentleman's face. So especially in a forum that talked about supporting women. And he has 15 years of experience in international organizations such as the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the U.S. Agency for International Development, the USAID, and the International Red Cross. Yevgeny, we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Спасибо, Чай-Чай. Здравствуйте, уважаемые коллеги. Очень интересно было знакомиться.
Thank you, Chai-Chai. Thank you, dear colleagues. It was a great pleasure to see all your presentations of those panelists before me. I would like to speak about the barriers for women, which we still have for women in terms of their access to economy. There is lack of information, access to information, and the women has less time for professional development and participation in professional association. 250 women million less have less access to internet versus men. There are also problems with collaterals which women cannot provide to the banks in order to get loans. The deficit of women's involvement is $1.3 trillion worldwide. And this is due to the lack of opportunities for businesses, and women has physically less time for business. In 2016, we had a study in many countries, 28 of them, in fact, and 86% of our respondents believe that women should do household works, even if husbands are unemployed, and 69 respondents prefer traditional family structures where man is the breadwinner whilst the women are unemployed and do the care work. That is why we see that unpaid care for women is 3 times more versus men. And as you see on this slide, we are doing our research last year at the very beginning of pandemic in the sector of trade and services, where mostly women are employed, and they're very much hit by the lockdown due to coronavirus. The companies headed by women are much badly hit versus men. 26% of women's company badly hit versus 17% of men, and more women had to adopt their business model in the time of after pandemic. This slide, and I don't see my slides, so please put my slides on the screen. Just a moment, I will try to share my screen with my slides. Can I ask the moderator to put my slides on the screen? Or I have to do it by myself?
My colleague, okay, let me ask my colleague to put on your slides now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me do it. Let me do it.
Okay, it's coming up now. You may continue.
Смотрите, этот слайд
Now
показывает...
look at this slide here. The slide demonstrates optimism of our women entrepreneurs, even in the time of the pandemic. Most of our women entrepreneurs continue to develop their own businesses, and only 5% of women's entrepreneurs said that they will shut down their businesses versus 12% of men entrepreneurs. This resembles me the situation of the 90s, when after the Soviet Union dismissal, women took economy in their hands and focused on the economic development. Next. In EBRD for Central Asia, they have 3 programs for women's entrepreneurs development. Here in Kazakhstan, we have women in business, and in Central Asia and Mongolia, women in the stepping up for women, which includes the following components: consulting, when women entrepreneurs would like to get answers to their questions, to draft business plan or develop marketing strategies. We're providing grants for consulting and helping women to find experts who could help them with these projects. We also have a very good project on mentoring. We've seen that women are ready to support other women to develop their own businesses, and we see that in our Central Asian countries, there are leaders, women entrepreneurs, who are ready to share their best practices free with others. And today, this mentoring program is practically everywhere in Central Asia and Mongolia. Within 9 months, women sharing their best practices with the others, and especially they're offering this support to the startups, women startups. We're also working with the banks. We're providing funds to our partner banks and microfinancing organizations to provide financial support to women entrepreneurs. And on the other hand, we're offering technical support to those banks. We're telling them that the gender data should be collected by the banks, and this will be very helpful for them to support women entrepreneurs. We would like not to use pink marketing when the banks would like to attract women entrepreneurs. Very often they use this pink color, which is not, I believe, ethical and correct in relation to women. We also have another tool, which is called the covering risk of the first losses. While cooperating with the banks, we are saying that yes, those funds provided to women entrepreneurs, if some of them fail to return back the loans, or there will be delinquency from their side, we're pledged to pay off their debts to the banks on behalf of our fund. And for the present time, not a single lady entrepreneur so far
Could you wind down in one minute?
Not a single lady went past. This fund is actually a kind of a cushion against any financial failures of our women entrepreneurs. We also noticed that small and micro businesses headed by women, these businesses are more flexible. And currently, many companies addresses to us in terms of reviewing the business models. When we have a good model, a business model and communication channels, and this company, CD Express, is a logistical company headed by a lady. When there was a problem with the shutdown of all borders, this company tried to change the business model, and they noticed that quite often banks are abandoned, not physically visited by the clients, but rather they providing services online. And currently this logistic company provides services on delivery, pay cards to the banking clients, and currently they also developing new products in order to help moving property from one location to another for companies. And we also noticed that projects with rapid income, which the use in marketing and franchising, which are not required big and original investments, but immediate results are observed
Yevgeny,
as a
I'm
result
sorry.
of these business schemes.
Sorry, Yevgeny, I would need you to wrap up your intervention. We have one more speaker, so we don't have time left. Yeah, thank you.
В качестве решений это всегда гендерные данные.
In terms of solutions, gender data is very important, which we're lacking now. We would like also to see more women at the decision level, at the decision-making levels everywhere. We would like to have more role model women. We would like to see less non-paid labor for women and men. And we see that the digital tools could be part of the solution, and they could provide rapid opportunities for women's empowerment. And finally, I would like to express my wish to have more and more men in liquidating gender inequality. And my final comment, if I may, I would like to have more entrepreneurs, not only as speakers, but also as the listeners, as the participants, because entrepreneurship has a big capacity in terminating gender inequality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yevgeny. It's wonderful to hear how you made the efforts to support women in business at EBRD. And indeed, as you said, that we need more male champions like yourself, because the financial institutions are dominated by men, especially at senior positions. And when we engage and enlist more men as allies, and women will be able to benefit from these programs. Thank you very much for sharing your insights and your experience. Okay, we now move to our final speaker, Miss Maro Hude Bergenova. She's a project engineer and a certified KMS lead auditor. She launched a volunteering project called the Google Developer Group and Women Tech Makers, Ashgabat, with a mission to develop the young generation in terms of technology growth and innovation. She's passionate about green, clean technologies, inclusive development, gender equality, and human rights. Mara, the floor is yours. Thank you. Do we have Mara here? Maro? Ms. Maro Hude Bergenova? Sorry, I was not able to pronounce your name properly. Are you there?
Dear Chai, we're admitting her in again. She has been having trouble being thrown out of Zoom all the time. So she's been informing us. Let's see, let's try.
Okay.
So right now she is back in. Maral, can you hear us?
Maral, if you're in, you can start your intervention now. She was planning to present and share her views on opportunities for girls and young women in times of COVID-19, overcoming digital gender gaps in STEM.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so we have Maral now, right? Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me? Sorry, I apologize for my connection issue.
Yes, yes.
Hello.
We can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Maral. Nice meeting everyone, and thanks for the invitation. So can you see my screen?
No, we cannot, Maral, but maybe just go ahead and speak. We just worried that the connection may not. Ah, now we can see. Okay, go ahead.
It's okay. Yeah. Yes, I'm Maral. I'm engineer and civil engineer, and I started to think about being more excited and think about this contribution in gender inequality after participation in Tech Women Exchange program. I think it's better to speak up in Russian because my slides in English, so it will be more clear in two languages. Да, и получается, я хотела бы просто сказать пару слов.
Distinguished participants, I would like to say a couple of words about the issues that were mentioned by all our speakers, but how I arrived at trying to motivate women and girls, explaining them their rights, that gender equality is not only the issue which should be resolved only for women, but so the idea was to incorporate this into school curricula so that it would be supported to and developed from early years. So explaining what gender equality is and what impact this has on women. What we try to do or to have done, we have a group of volunteers in Ashgabat. So this is the first volunteer group. There are a lot of such groups across the world, but we are proud that we started last year and we just so we started the first one who just we're encouraging women to select technical profession. We started providing information. Why motivation is important? Because if no example is visible, so people quite often do not have information. So why this or that profession is attractive for them. Sorry, so the sound is disappearing all the time. So why is it important to select technical science? It shows that when so that we're living in such era when so the future is for the technologies. And we explain to people that all people are equally born and have equal opportunities. But people depend not only on their opportunity, but on their willingness to develop them, such capacities or capabilities. Why is it important to have such an example? Because girls have to intend to develop better future. We're starting a very interesting big program. It will be the first in the country, and we hope that it will attract more girls and will encourage them to select professions when they by the end of their school years. Regrettably, during COVID situation, during COVID time, many professions and many services were or suffered from lockdowns, such as like barber shops, services.
Не будет действовать, не будет приносить результаты, а только на словах. То есть, как я уже сказала,
Without any governmental support, all our programs will be only just on the air, so it will not bring any material results. And we are conducting negotiations to integrate the importance of gender equality in the curriculum, maybe like off-school hours, but still it is important not only for women and girls, but for men. As already mentioned, it is governmental support is very important from early ages. But from our side, our contribution is made on the level of the city. Of course, it would be good just to involve international companies and organizations. And we just involved some of them. And we are glad that girls are quite active, proactive, and they are interested in new things and new opportunities. Even taking into consideration the fact that we opened a school for children, so we lack mentors, which is quite important for early age development. Many organizations. I'm really glad that we have these kinds of conferences because it helps to develop business models to address these issues. And as I already said, if you just lack mentors, that means that we have to teach such a generation from early ages and to bring them up in the spirit of interest to science. And we have to communicate the idea that gender equality is not only is the target and mission for the society to address it. New, as already said, emerging professions reveal the need of developing scientific and technical skills. And women, girls are not involved into this process because they lack resources. But so women can use such resources for their self-education and developing their capabilities and potential, for their empowerment. I would repeat once again that this is an issue of involving not only women into this, into addressing this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Meryl, for your very insightful presentation. You showed more data on the issues confronting women in STEM and the possible way forward to address this issue, both in terms of social norms and other, socioeconomic barriers that are affecting girls' entry into STEM field. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have all the panelists and also presenters have completed their presentation. We heard very rich and interesting stories shared by our panelists, how they personally promoted women and girls' economic opportunities, especially in the difficult situation of COVID pandemic. And also, very importantly, they shared with us the strategies forward. I think these are important food for thought when we move to the next stage of developing policy options to address the challenges confronting women's economic empowerment. We have just a couple of minutes left. I want to check whether any of you have a question. We can perhaps take on one question. I saw a couple of comments coming up in the chat box. One is regarding the importance of providing women with childcare support, because this is vital for women's economic empowerment, so that at the critical stage of their career development, they are not forced to get out of the labor market in order to take care of their children. So it entails government consideration on how to strengthen the care system. Second comment is about the latest development of new legislation on promoting gender equality in Uzbekistan. Congratulations, thanks for the good news. Is there any comments, any further comments and question? You may raise your hand. We have 2 minutes left. We can take on one question or comment. I don't see any hands. Natalia, if you can confirm I'm correct that there's indeed no hand raised, then I will hand it over to you before concluding the session.
Yes, thank you very much, Chai. I think people would have a lot of questions, but we all understand that the time is over. I see that Nargis raised her hand. So Chai, if with your permission, after the evaluation, we let Nargis make a closing comment, and then we can close the session with that. Nargis, if you could not, that is okay. Okay, so then now let's go to the evaluation. Participants, by now you already know our drill. The link is posted in the chat. Please click on that link and fill out the evaluation. You can fill it out in English or Russian. As you know, there's a button on the top right corner to choose your language. Also, I want to encourage all the speakers to complete this evaluation as well. We noticed that in the last session, speakers didn't do it because you maybe thought it's just for participants, but it's for you as well. So now for 2 minutes, we'll wait while you complete the evaluation, and then we go to Nargis for a final comment.
Sorry, Natalia, I can go ahead.
No, give us 2 minutes
Okay.
to fill out the questionnaire. Okay, I think that was about 2 minutes. If you haven't finished, of course, you can do it in the next few moments. Nargis, over to you. And then Chai just maybe say thank you afterwards, and then we will finish. Yeah, Nargis?
Спасибо, Наталья. Меньше минуты. Я просто хотела обратить внимание, что сейчас пока две страны...
Thank you, Natalia. I just would like to pay attention that 2 countries so far agreed to start their VNR. I'm talking about Kazakhstan and Belarus. That is the program countries for the UN agencies. Actually, we could support all other regional countries if they have the intention or opportunities to do the review on 5 development goal. I think when Kazakhstan will start reporting, it is a very good initiative, and I hope that other countries will support us at least on the goal 5, and we can compare the progress between Kazakhstan and other countries. We are ready to provide you technical support and wish you good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nargis. It's wonderful, and we appreciate your commitment for further support. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to the conclusion of this session. I want to just give our big thanks to all the speakers, the presenters, the panelists, for enriching our understanding of the issue. And through your interventions, we can see that a lot of progress have been made. Of course, the data still showed a lot of gaps in different areas, but it's really heartening to see the efforts that are already being made on the ground by our entrepreneurs, by our male champions, as well as by the governments. So we will build on this strong momentum and continue to work very closely with the government, civil society, as well as the private sector to push forward the gender equality and women's empowerment agenda. I also want to mention that this session is special because it was organized in collaboration of 3 agencies, ESCAP, UN Women, and UN ECE. This is really a very good model in terms of showing how UN agencies can work together to design a session that address all the concerns and bring the resources to contribute to the event. So we want to thank again to our colleagues from UN Women and UN ECE for your contributions. And finally, we also want to thank our interpreters for your hard work. And perhaps also was to mention that the organizing team at our sub-regional office for North and Central Asia has been working very hard leading up to the event. Thank you, colleagues, friends. Goodbye for now.
Thank you very much, Chai, for the excellent moderation and for your kind words at the end. Thanks everybody who contributed to the session. We will now go into a break, and we will start session 6 at 4 p.m. Almaty time. So we have about 10 minutes break now. Thank you, everybody. See you back in 10 minutes. Thanks for a great session 5 on SDG 5.
Thank you. Bye-bye.